those bachelorettes at the gay bars, they really piss me off.
You freaking open your mouth and product comes out.
Don't come between Barton Bradley and a limeade.
And welcome to another podcast with Coffee with Gays. I am Adam, we have Ryan, and today's host, we have Blaine. What are we talking about, Blaine?
Today we're talking about scared gays because I think that there's a lot of actually really scary stories around the gay community. And one that actually just hit my TikTok feed yesterday about a guy named Jonathan Honey.
Yet another person's body was pulled from Lady Bird Lake this weekend. 33-year-old Jonathan Honey was reported missing March 31st, and his body was found in the lake Saturday night. This comes a few weeks after 30-year-old Jason John was also found in the lake after a night out.
There are guys that have been going missing in Austin and Chicago and Florida like lately, and there's been like talks of like if there's a serial killer or not.
Well, Austin's not that far from us. So
I know.
A little edgy.
And I'm going to Chicago this week.
And you're going to Chicago. You should. Market Days is coming up. You should be very careful. Like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist for sure, but I'm sorry. Like, this Austin thing is like really, really weird.
Yeah, because I'm already got nervous about the Friday night one. It sounds like we're going to a sketchy neighborhood. So
yeah, then definitely be very careful. I did make Ryan reshare his location with me, so I do have that now. So, but yeah, Jonathan Honey was like a 33-year-old, like really attractive, fit guy. He was down on Rainey Street. We were there for our photo shoot, and it is the gay neighborhood.
Rainey Street is downtown.
Downtown Austin, if you're familiar. It's where all the bars are. There are gay bars, but also not gay bars too. He was there for a bachelor party, and I'm like a little unclear if he's gay or not. He looked gay, but he does have that fish picture that they've been showing. But he's a attractive guy.
I've been fishing. What are you talking about?
He could be like you, for sure. He could be like a straight, like looking gay dude.
So mine, for anybody who has never been to Austin, there is I guess it's a river.
It's a river. They call it Lady Bird Lake, but it's basically like a river.
It's a river that runs through Austin that I would say is the lower part of Austin and kind of divides the city. But divides from the lower to the upper. And most of the city's in the upper part of the city. So
this guy, like, basically was on Rainey Street. He went to go get food. He had been drinking.
Well, he was out with the bachelorette party.
He goes to get food by himself. And he wanders to Lady Bird Lake, which is like 1.8 miles away. It's not like a short walk. Wow. And he somehow just goes into the lake and drowns. And what kills me is this isn't the first one. There's actually 9 of these deaths that have happened to men in their 30s since like December of 2022.
You would think this should happen to like people in their 80s when they have Alzheimer's.
Like, even if you're drunk, it's like you're not just like wandering around and like, oh, like I just ran into a lake and I'm dead. So the toxicology came out, and I'm going to stitch the video from the local ABC affiliate that actually the reporter that I follow that was on TikTok, that it just angered me so much because at the very end of his video, he goes, oh, and so now the police are doing new safety measures, adding lighting and adding fencing to Lady Bird Lake to stop.
The autopsy has just been released for 33-year-old Jonathan Honey, who was found dead in Lady Bird Lake here in Austin, Texas. Let's talk about the details. For those who don't know, my name is Ford Sanders. I am a news reporter for the ABC News affiliate here in Austin, Texas, KView News. So back in April, just a couple months ago, 33-year-old Jonathan Honey, his body was actually found in Lady Bird Lake. He was here visiting from the DC area on a bachelor trip. He was reported missing on March 31st, and the Austin Police Department says that he was drinking and went off to go find food. And a day later, they found the 33-year-old dead in the lake near the Rainey Street district. So when it comes to the actual autopsy, it ruled Honey's death as an accidental drowning, but it said he had alcohol in his system. It said he had amphetamines in his system, which was in the line with his medical diagnosis of having ADHD, but also hydroxyzine, which is usually like an anti-anxiety medication. But Jason John, back in February, was also found in the lake, and it was also classified as an accidental drowning, still leaving a lot of questions for family and friends of all of these victims, and more work to be done on those trails for safety measures and precautions.
Some Austinites and city leaders have been demanding improvements to the Rainey Street area, including better lighting and adding cameras.
And I don't think it's a safety issue. And there was this guy, And I'm just going to add a little fuel to this fire because there was a content creator. His name's Ken Wags. This dude who I think I kind of showed you and you're like, is he gay or not? He's not gay because he had a girlfriend at one point. And he came out and he had this whole conspiracy theory about serial killers in Chicago. And then he went to the Austin killers and he basically was like saying that these killers were out. And it was wild what he was claiming. And he was also saying that these private investigators were visiting him. He was showing business cards. He got canceled big time because he was like also saying that his app was going to help find him. So he was tying it to business.
Why were the police upset about that or not?
So the police were like, no, we don't need your help. And then he said that the police were also working with him. So everybody thinks he's super shady and he was doing it for a following. So he basically hasn't been posting on TikTok anymore. And then started doing other stuff on Instagram. And he said, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. But I will say, this is weird. Like, can we just admit this is weird? And the guy, Jonathan, that died at Lady Bird Lake and they just released these toxicology results, he had anti-anxiety medicine in his system, which he wasn't prescribed. And like, we're still ruling this as an accidental drowning, and it's not a homicide, and yet it's the 9th guy that's gone missing. So there's another guy actually in Florida, an older man who has been missing from a gay bar called Cruisers. He's an older gentleman, actually.
This was in Austin also?
No, this one's in Florida.
Another place I go to.
They keep popping up. And I think, maybe it's just social media and that's kind of what our topic is today, which is why I wanted to bring it up. But we have to be really careful because there's a lot of scary situations and we just need to be really aware. But
you have to also remember for a lot of people who are there, that may be listening that's not gay, is there are apps out there such as Grindr, and the best thing that I ever heard was Grindr should have been named Fruit by the Foot because Grindr actually puts you in location by feet away from somebody. So in turn of this, if I had Grindr on right now and Blaine did, we would be probably 3 or 4 feet from, and it would show you on the app how far away you are. So the scary part about this is you have a lot of people who can find your location where you are. And trust me, I've done it. I have hunted down some people in my life, but not to kill them, but just to be like, I think you're not out of the closet and I think you're lying about who you are and I'm going to find you.
No, I mean, it's crazy to think because we put a lot of trust in that. We're going on this app, agreeing to share our locations, the other guy's locations, also we can go hook up with someone and you never know when that person could be crazy and then you end up getting murdered. And we've done that.
I've been told by somebody that they know where I am and it scared the shit out of me.
So Tinder doesn't do it like that. Tinder doesn't give you locations. Grindr literally puts a grid up. And if you move closer to the person, you move closer to that person on the grid. And it could scare you. My mother always said, she was like, you're going to die from a Grindr.
I have to tell you, and I am sick and fucking tired of this. And this is one of the reasons I love this podcast platform. And I think that we should all be mad at social media companies. I include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and every fucking social media platform out there and these dating platforms. They should be required to ID verify everybody.
100%.
It is not hard to do it. Scruff actually is the only one that actually does it. And you have to go in and you have to do a thumbs up, with your current picture and different things, hand gestures to show it's a current photo. They don't make sure you do ID. But you know what this would do? This would stop child trafficking. This would stop creepos, because you had your identity stolen.
With Grindr, there had been people out there. So the way that Grindr works is you go on there, you chat with somebody, you're like, hey, you want to hook up? Okay, let's meet at this place. There have been people who are serial killers that would go on Grindr and they'd be like, hey, you want to come over to my place? And they would put up a fake picture of somebody really hot. And somebody would get lured into it and be like, yeah, I'll come over. And then next thing you know, they're being murdered. They're being murdered. But nobody sits there usually and goes, hey, I'm going to go hook up with this guy. If you don't hear from me in 10 minutes, I'm going to be at this place. and we'll come back to this in a little bit because I think we want to get further with the story with these, with like the murders that have happened. But it's a scary thing that people need to be aware of and really think about it, because we're in a different time in the world where people are killing people. Like it's not the same things that we used to be. What's the big murder where the guy used to lure all the gay guys in? There was just back in the
Jeffrey
80s.
Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
I mean, look what Jeffrey Dahmer did.
Wow.
He would lure people in and bring them back to his house, and then he would kill them. And then he would dissolve their body in, what was the chemical?
It was lime.
No, it wasn't lime.
We need Bargain Bradley on here with his true crime stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He killed like 12 people. The one who got away was the one who fucking finally got him caught with murder.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. And it's, I think, scarier fueled by these apps. Have you had any scary?
I remember actually the first time I did this, it was in Denver. And I was really nervous because like I'd had Grindr, but I hadn't really used it up until that point. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. This guy that I flew to Colorado with dumped me off. I put myself out there to go visit him in Colorado. I'd met him on AIDS Life Cycle. And then I got there and then he's like, I'm actually having feelings about my ex still. So then it was in Colorado Springs, drove me back to Denver. And so I got a hotel and I was by myself. It was like a holiday weekend. I felt, I guess kind of lonely, upset, and like, rejected. I was like, I finally put myself out there and then went. And so I was like, you know what? For the first time, I'm going to like open Grindr and have some guy come over. And he came over, to the hotel and just had the door unlocked and had him come over. And like, thankfully it was fine. I was still here, but it was exhilarating, but it was also kind of terrifying. Like I have no idea who he is. He's just some guy walking down the street near the hotel. And I was like, hey, you want to come over? And
I've done this time and time again, and I kicked myself in the ass, is you don't know who's walking through that door. You don't know whose door you're walking through, and you can put yourself in a really bad situation. And and I would say this, I have put myself in bad situations where I've walked to a door and it's not the person who they portray.
I think about this a lot too. Like I rent out rooms in my house, or I've done Airbnb, and like I've got all these people coming over all the time. And I get, and I'm like, I remember the very first time I did it, and it was terrifying because I was like, oh my God, I just gave the code for some stranger to come into my house, and it is what it is.
Do they run ID verification for Airbnb and stuff?
Like as a host, you can require, I think I just say that they have to have like an ID loaded into their account, but it's really open, like of who can just come on in. And thankfully it's worked out well. Financially it's helped me, but there's been a couple of times it's been scary. Yeah, the meth head lesbians. And then also the one guy that stayed for several months. And I remember walking by the room.
Is that our favorite straight hot guy?
No, the straight hot guy is hot and fine. I guess that's another thing. We let hotter people we justify it if they're hotter, right? No. But there was one, he stayed like, we kept extending it, but I remember I'd walk by his bedroom door and he'd just be sitting on the edge of the bed, like staring at the wall, and it would freak me out. And my mom was visiting one time and she was freaked out, and she was telling Chris, she's like, you need to stay here with me. I am not staying in this house alone with this guy renting this room.
Yeah, you never know. I think, okay, I have a good one. I have a good one that just came to me. So I went on a date with a guy 10 years ago, okay? Maybe 12 years ago, because I left Dallas, I moved to LA, and then I moved back here, right? So when I moved back to Dallas, I got on Grindr, and I was talking to this cute guy, and all of a sudden, like, we were having a good little banter, and I was like, oh, we were talking about going on a date, and then all of a sudden, on my phone, I get a text message. And we hadn't said what our names were yet. And he goes, hi, Blaine. And I was like, who is it? It was like, and the name was in my phone, but I didn't have any message history. And he goes, remember me? And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, I'm the one you're talking to on Grindr right now. And I was like, okay. And then it was like we had been on this date. I finally remembered we were on this date 12 years ago. And what had pissed me off is it was a great date. I loved it. But then what I used to do is after a date, I had a separate Grindr profile on my iPad. And I would go on my iPad and see if the guy got on Grindr right after the date to see if he was like trolling for other ass.
What if he got on the Grindr just to see if you got on the Grindr?
Great point. Okay. Toxic trait. You can call it what it is. I just wanted a guy that like had a date that like was like didn't have to get right on Grindr again.
So I wanted to see if the guy that I had a date with got on Grindr, so I got on Grindr.
Yeah, but not on my account. I got on a different account. So anyway, I didn't ever talk to him again. I ghosted him.
Because after the date you saw him on Grindr?
Yeah, I ghosted him because I was just like, well, fuck you. If you're going to go like look for another guy after a great date, I don't want to talk to you again. You're not worth my time. I think that is a valid thing.
Because you didn't put out on the date, and so he was still horny. And
I think he got on there and he was like, oh, this date ended on a great positive note. We hugged. We had a little kiss. It was a normal date. But I didn't like put out sexually, and he wanted to get on Grindr.
So hold on, let me get back to this. So I'm horny and I want to get boned. What is the problem with that?
You know what? To each their own. At the time,
I think what the problem is your emotions are outweighing a lot of your.
At the time in my life, I just wanted a guy that could go on a date and have a normal date and not have to go and have sex all the time. So that's what my theory was. That was my thing. Yeah. So I didn't want to talk to the guy again. I didn't want to waste my time on a Grindr searcher.
How do you know that maybe he didn't? Maybe he had another friend on Grindr.
Oh, shut up.
But would you do that again now?
No. Now I'm like very much more progressive. So like I wouldn't give a shit now. But back then I just like cared. That's a great question. Yeah. I've evolved since then. But hey, okay, I'm sorry. You're taking his side. This guy's a fucking creep because then here we are 12 years later and he's texting me, "Hi Blaine, blah blah blah. I'm talking to you on Grindr." And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, "You're the one that ghosted me 12 years ago." Oh my God. And then he's like, "I know where you are right now."
Okay, then I would say he's a freaking.
And it was the creepiest thing. And then I said, "You know what? I'm sorry." We'll just call him C. And I said, I'm really sorry about it. And then I realized what I had done and why I had done it, which I think is justified from my perspective.
Either way, he held on to that for 12 years.
For 12 years. And he was like waiting for this moment. And the text just got creepier. And then because I was so like unnerved by the situation, I agreed to go on a date with him as a makeup.
You're an idiot.
I know.
Why would you ever?
He said he wanted to go on a makeup date, and I said, "Okay, I guess I owe you that." And then I kept telling my friend, I said, "I think I'm going to get murdered on this date, like for real." And then I was like, "Maybe I'll go at the restaurant across from my apartment." But then I was like, "Well, then he'll know where I live, so we don't need that." And then I finally just said, "You know what?" I said, "Nothing will make up for what I did to you 12 years ago. So
I would like to set you free."
I think it's best for me to bow out and say that I hurt you. I'm sorry. And let's just not do this date because nothing I will ever do will ever make this a relationship. And then he sent me some like weird GIF that actually was a nasty GIF that was basically like, "I'm going to murder you, GIF." And I was like, it was the scariest thing ever. So I was not wrong. The guy was crazy, clearly. And he wasn't the one, clearly. He was a psycho, clearly.
He's going to lock you up in his house and keep you there. And you'll never leave, Blaine.
You'll never leave. I've been waiting for you for 12 years to find you on the Grindr. I mean, it's the scariest. That was a scary gay moment. I mean, whoo, girl. That was so scary. Do you have a scary gay moment?
Mine was a little different. A lot different. So I do remember when I first moved to Dallas, I was on Grindr. And again, Grindr shows how many feet, miles you are away from this person. So I would entertain people just to try to break them down. Not break them down, but just try to see who they really are. And I love doing it. Like I can figure out people real quick. So I got a message from this guy, and he was very good looking. And I went, why is this really good-looking guy from 1,400 miles messaging me? So then I would go,
By the way, red,
right? Well,
red
so I'll give you that. So I would go, red flag. And I did. And I was like,
because can you set you can set a filter like looking for certain types, but then geographically
no,
up to 2,000
you
but
can.
I want this age group, athletic fit, whatever. And that's how
You can. But there is nobody putting filters on looking for how to mail you 1,400 miles away. That's not happening.
Yeah.
they were looking for you.
Let me go with this.
Okay.
You guys are all So he basically says, hey, I was looking in the DFW area. I think that you're very good looking. I would like to
That's also a red.
I would like to grab dinner with you when I come in on Monday night. And I was like, it's fucking Saturday. Why are we playing Monday nights? And you're 1,400 miles away from me. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I was like, I don't know if I believe this shit. So what's going through my head is this is some 90-year-old man, because we get a lot of those, who just wants to entertain them with our time and just wants to chit chat. So I was like, whatever. So I played along and I was like, sure, you come in Monday night, I'll go grab dinner with you.
Did he have a jet?
Let me get.
If he had a jet, I'd be okay with it.
Kayla and I were two-step, and he messaged me and said, I'm in DFW, I'm in town. Like, I came in late tonight, I can't do dinner now, but do you want to come over to my hotel room and have some drinks? And I'm like, now mind you, he was very good looking in pictures.
Really?
But I was like, and I'm one where I'm like, all right, I want to see who this really is. I can't fight that. Like, I want to see who this is just to see it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to wind up going to a murderer's house or murderer's hotel room, or I'm going to go to a 90-year-old man. It's like, it's going to be one or the other. There's this guy in the picture is not going to be there. And I have a picture of him, too. I'll show that. So I said to Kaylee, I was like, look, this is where I'm going. This is the hotel room. This is the hotel number. This is where I'm going to be. If you don't hear from me in 30 minutes, call the police. Check with me first, call the police. So on my way out there, he texted me and said, hey, can you grab a wine opener? Because I don't have a wine opener, but I have wine. And I was like, actually, that's a weapon. I could jam it into your neck. So I guess I will grab that wine opener.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, being gay is terrifying.
He was staying right around TFW at, I think it was like Days Inn. Like, not anything fancy.
Yeah. Okay,
So
first of all, red flag. Can we say?
How many are we at now?
First of all, if he was at the Crescent, the Ritz-Carlton, really Hotel Zaza, like these are all like green flags, right? Anything that is like the Anatole, that would be another really good one. Staying at DFW Airport at the Days Inn, red flag. No private jet, red flag. Okay, continue.
I go, and I'll never forget. I rolled up, parked in front of the Days Inn, and I walked in and I went, this is how I'm going to die. I'm going to get murdered. And this is how I'm going to get. And I'll never forget, I had the cork part of the bottle opener sticking out this way. Because I was like, if this guy pulls me in, I'm going to jam him in the neck with the cork. So, go to the door, and I took a deep breath, knocked on the door, opened the door, and it was the guy that he sent me the picture of.
It was the hot guy.
He was the hot guy.
So that was good.
So it was real.
I was
real, actual.
So this was this was him, and legit, I literally sat there and was like, "Oh my god, I did not think that this was you." And I was like, "Why did you text me from 1,400 miles away?" And here's what he said. He goes, "I'm in the military. I was in Arlington, Virginia. I had to come to DFW to do a layover that I was supposed to be here for 5 days before going to Germany on the military flight." And I literally was like, I thought you were going to kill me. And I'm telling you, he was gorgeous. I loved him.
Can I tell you, I actually had a similar moment with a guy that was deployed to Korea.
Of course you did, Penelope.
I am. Oh my God. I'm Penelope. If you don't know Penelope from SNL, I do have these moments. But they're always real moments.
It's always one up.
I'm not trying to one up, but the guy was being deployed to Korea. I fell in love with him. He had the nicest, eggplant of anyone ever.
Oh
and
God.
I spent 7 magical days with him before he got deployed to Korea for the rest of his career in the military. It was similar. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to one up you. He was tall. He's taller than me. 6'8", and I'm 6'5". But I didn't think he was a murderer, and he wasn't at the day's end. But I guess that explains all of those red flags. By the way,
it does. But the thing is you gotta really like.
Why didn't he tell you that before?
I didn't ask him. He didn't tell me, and
girl, you need to ask questions as a gay man. Then I have another scary gay story of a stupid thing that I did. Dumb. I was 30, and I went to Montreal for my 30th birthday party, and it was wild with my 2 best friends. I mean, we were just wild every night. I mean, that city is so much fun.
There is no gay and straight men. It is just men wanting to have sex with men.
And the water there, I didn't see a gym, but God, they were just beautiful. And they're all like layered up all year. I don't understand how they get so hot. Anyway, it was just magical times with many different men. Anyway, but I had a multiple night. And I just we started early. So I was like, this guy, I was going over to his place at the, like the Olympic Park. They basically built the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, like way out of the city. So I took a cab way out of there, like 30 minutes out. And I was like, ooh, this is really scary. And, it's basically abandoned. So everything's disintegrating, like all the bobsled stuff is disintegrating over there. And I'm like, and there's like this weird apartment complex I go into. And I don't know if you guys ever saw that Sex and the City episode where the gay one walks in and there's all those dolls. Basically, it was that. There was like, he was like a costume designer. So there was like headdresses and dolls and all this red chiffon. And I was like,
I'm not really feeling this anymore.
It's like, but I was also like in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, and I took a cab, so I didn't know. This is like pre-Uber, and I was like, I don't know how to get back home. Yeah, I was like, I'm really scared. I think I'm gonna get murdered here in the middle of Montreal.
I think I'll do 2, because the one that, as you were telling your story and showing up and like there's all these weird dolls and stuff, made me think of another one. This was after in LA, like big gay Super Bowl party. I went up there with a friend, but then of course we got split up and he went off and did his own thing. Meanwhile, my phone's dying. I went to Motherload, which, as you know, you go in and I swear you get 1 drink and you don't remember anything the rest of the night. You're blacked out.
I have to say, Motherload in Los Angeles, it's like they put some kind of drug in the booze, or like Everclear, and everybody I've ever known. I had a friend, I'm not kidding you, we went to Motherload after Pump once, and he was frothing at the mouth, and we had to take him via a black SUV home. Yeah, we needed something fast, girl. We couldn't wait 8 minutes on an Uber X. We were like, we need something, pull up and take him home, because it was bad. What is it about that place? You black out. Everybody blacks out at Motherload. 2 drinks for me.
We need a comment. Anyone that's ever been to Motherload.
I would love a comment on this. If you've been to Motherload, do you black out after 2 drinks? Yes or no? It's a poll for sure.
After that, I started going out. I had to attach my phone to me. Like I needed everything on a leash and attached, because I would just lose everything.
It is a well-known West Hollywood thing about Motherload, and we don't know how it happened.
Anyway, so Super Bowl party, then Motherload. And of course, me being me, I can't just go to a Super Bowl party in normal clothes. It was when Gaga was performing. So I had to like dress up. I did the whole little eye makeup. And of course, and this was a day that it was actually raining that night too. I think it was raining then. But I ended up going back with, I don't even know how I met him, but some guy's place, the most cluttered. Like I couldn't even get, like, just getting on the bed, I felt like you had to like jump over piles of stuff, but I was so out of it. And then because it was like Super Bowl themed or whatever, it turned into this whole like role play. And he's like, yeah, you've been a bad player. And I was like, yeah, coach, like, how are you going to, I've been a bad player. How are you? It was ridiculous. And then somehow I came to my senses, and all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went off. And I felt like I was watching myself in this situation. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. And I was like, okay, bye. I have to leave. And then my phone was at like 2%. Somehow I had enough to get back down to Long Beach, but I didn't have a key into my apartment. But I didn't have a key to my apartment because it was with the friend that I got split up with. And so then I'm going to my next door neighbor, knocking on the door at like 4 a.m, like wet. I have makeup running down my face from the Gaga makeup. And I'm like, can I please stay over? It was tragic.
I mean, we are adventurous. We're an adventurous group, and I think it's good. We're also men, so I think we have the benefit of that because we feel a little invincible. I actually posted a TikTok the other day about like I wasn't afraid when I was in like my friend when I was in South Africa. I wasn't afraid like she was, because I think a woman in South Africa, you got to be a little more careful than a guy.
This is why lesbians are the way they are. They're scared women.
What? I think I'd be more afraid of a lesbian, by the way, because those women can like literally they'll kill you. Like a lesbian, like we were just at Wine Wonk on Thursday, and I walked into the lesbian bar, and I literally was like intimidated and terrified. Like I was like, why are we at Sue Ellen's? They stamped my hand with a giant boobs thing, and I said, is that necessary? And she's like, yes. And I was like, okay. I was like, really, lesbians, like they're actually like way more intimidating than anyone. They'll rule the world for sure. No. The lesbians are the scariest ones for sure. They stick together. Have you ever seen the South Park episode Lesbos? It's literally, it's basically like 300, the movie, but it's lesbians, and it's hysterical and super true. They could rule the world for sure. We love our lesbians,
but we'll throw all the parties.
But I do think like we do get a false sense of probably like invincibility because we're like dudes. We run in packs of guys, and then I think that we think, oh, like nothing can touch us, and then guess what? You end up face down in Lady Bird Lake with some freaking anti-anxiety meds. And then because the police are the police, they say, oh, it was an accidental drowning. And that is just bullshit because they need news coverage and stuff for the police to actually do something and do something really to investigate. And they're really trying. But then, the news cycle continues to cycle, and then bullshit comes up, and people forget. And that's why I was actually kind of glad it came up in TikTok the other day with this reporter, because I was like, oh my God, yes, this story is really important to me because we shouldn't forget about these things. And it just, needs to happen. Another guy, like there's nine so far, nine mysterious.
All different cities.
Nine?
No, in Austin alone. And they all drowned. It's all Lady Bird Lake. And they put up fencing. They've added lighting. And all of these people were on Rainy Street. They were all drinking, and then they all just randomly walked into Lady Bird Lake to enjoy.
Do we have any because it's been such a downer episode, is there any positive angle we can?
We're all alive, and we're all in kind of middle life, so we've made it halfway there. Yeah, we're more aware of our surroundings. You two have boyfriends, so you should be good. I have a potential, so maybe I'll settle down eventually.
And anybody who comments below, if you comment, we are going to draw one person out of the comments to send you a free Coffee with Gays mug. So if you comment below and like our podcast today, you will be entered to possibly win a Coffee with Gays mug.
We have so many of them. I'm actually really excited about that because I need to get some Coffee with Gays mugs.
One free order, right? Because we messed up the print. So.
Cheers.
Cheers. Love you.